Ooh,
Hi, everyone. Welcome back to another amazing episode on the Unleashing Potentials podcast. My name is Bernadette Desir, and I'm your host. And joining me today is special guests Steve and Ernie. How are you guys doing?
good, good. How are
Oh, good,
you?
good. Thank
I'm
you.
doing
Thank
good.
you.
Yeah. So, where in the States are you guys tuning in from?
I'll go first. My name is Ernelita and I am tuning from Lodi, California, partner.
Yeah, and my name is Steve Steele, and I am tuning in from Fort Worth, Texas.
Is it hot in Texas?
No, not at all. Right now it's like 40 degrees.
Oh,
So it's
wow.
kind
Oof,
of cool.
cold.
Yeah, that gets hot. Trust me, it gets real hot. But today it's been kind of cool. We've had some cold weather too. So yeah, but
Yeah.
it's kind of cool today.
Oh, okay. That's awesome. That's really cool. Welcome to the podcast, you guys.
Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much.
Thank
Pleased to
you.
be here.
Yes, you're welcome. And I've been on your radio show,
Yes, ma'am.
which
The
Yep.
was
Leader's
amazing.
Edge.
Yeah, yeah. So I'm gonna start with Ernie. Can you tell us who you are and what you do?
So I focus on personal development and I call myself a personal development speaker, coach, trainer, facilitator. And mainly because, a lot of people has this fear of speaking up. A lot of people has this doubts about their whatever it is that they wanted to push forward to, or whatever desired goals they have. All those limiting beliefs, the fears, the mindset that people normally have. My goal is to equip them and empower them with a better mindset, and then bringing out that confidence. And at the same time, what a better way to start making an impact than starting within your community. So I'm starting to work with organizations within the community to help impact and break patterns through the Alchemist Group, which is I am a part of. And my amazing partner here, Mr. Steve Steele, him and I started a webinar turned into an international radio show, again with the goal just to add value to people, and which I truly love, because when Steve Steele and I connected, we both have the same goal. He said, "I just want to add value to people," and I said, "That's amazing, because that's all I wanted to do."
Hmm.
So today, that's where we are impacting, empowering, and at the same time adding value to others.
I love that. Thank you for sharing, Ernie. How about you, Steve? Who are you and what do
Yeah.
you do?
Well, yeah, Ernie took a lot of that, and it really covers a lot of what I do, and it's what I really do love about it. I'm definitely into personal growth. I've been using the John Maxwell Leadership Team for many years of my life, and I've been reading John Maxwell since 1998 and studying him and studying his teachings, and I love what he has to offer. One of the greatest leadership, I guess, gurus in the entire world. He's just an
Mhm.
amazing man, and everything that he's written. So I've learned a lot about that. But my niche is more into the leadership area, the leadership part of growth. Ernie's is personal growth. Of course, you have to grow personally as an individual to
Mhm,
achieve the leadership growth that you need to have when you lead a company, or you lead a particular group, or you lead an organization. And so
mhm,
those two things together, putting personal growth and leadership growth together, is what really formed the unit, Steve and Ernie,
mhm,
and the radio show, The Leader's Edge, going back to your path to personal growth and leadership with Steve and Ernie on our webinar. So you have to reach a certain level, because your leadership growth is never going to surpass your personal growth. It just never
Yep.
will happen. Personal growth always must come first. And so leadership growth moves along with personal growth. As personal growth goes, then leadership growth comes. Personal growth
Mhm.
goes, leadership goes. So there are so many things that I love teaching, especially to young entrepreneurs, to young people who are just building a new business, people, even seasoned leaders. I've had opportunities to share with them and talk to them as well. So that is what we do.
mhm.
I'm a speaker, I'm a coach, I'm a trainer, and I just love to dig into people and add value to wherever I can. Yeah.
Wow, that's awesome. That's really cool. I love that. When did you guys first started the radio show?
Mm.
We we
Maybe we should go back to before the radio show. We started,
Yes, yes,
you know what I say? Kind of go
uh,
backwards a little bit, Ernie.
yeah.
yes,
So
I agree.
Steve and I met at a conference, and we can talk about it later if we have enough time. But him and I were hosting a webinar, or a mastermind rather,
Yes.
not a
Yeah.
webinar. And all of a sudden, Steve has this amazing idea saying, Ernie, we should do a webinar. We should do a webinar. I was like, okay, yeah, we should. I thought he was kidding.
Yeah, well, I wasn't really kidding. Because, the thing about it is that and Ernie, just chime in with me, as
No
we go
worries,
along
go for
here.
it, partner.
But yeah, as we were launching this mastermind, I love doing masterminds. I've done masterminds for ever since I've been part of the Maxwell team. And Ernie invited me to be part of a mastermind that she had. We met at the IMC in I think it was in July, and then I think we were doing a mastermind in August or September, and she invited me to come to her mastermind. I loved her content. I fell in love with her content and what she was doing. And I thought to myself, getting ready to do a mastermind too, make her over to my mastermind and we share it. And that's what we did. Then by some intervention of God or something, I don't know how you want to call it, it just came to me that, Steve, you need to do a webinar. And I told Ernie, I said, Ernie, we need to do a webinar. She said, okay, don't know how to do a webinar, but we can try.
Yeah, we don't know how to do the webinar, but my thing is, okay, I'll say yes and tell the world and figure it out. That's basically how we've developed everything that we have today. And the second time we met, he's like, no, Ernie, we really need to do a webinar. And I said, oh, I thought we were kidding, but okay, they should probably meet about this and plan it. So long story short, we planned it and we decided to launch it January 19th, which we just celebrated our anniversary. We have not celebrated, but that is our anniversary. Today is January 19th. And alongside with that, we put out content. And luckily, it's again a blessing for us. Steve's content when he was posting about the webinar, maybe, or somebody is a part of our Facebook group because it has to be done in a Facebook group. A talent scout saw his content and reached out to him, and partner, you can continue with the story.
Yeah. Well, first of all, Ernie, I started adding to the, when we put the webinar together, Ernie said, okay,
we're going there.
I need to do the graphic work on it. So she starts working on graphics and start getting the webinar and the Facebook ready. And I just started adding people. I mean, that's all I did. I started adding people. And so Ernie goes, wait, we don't even have anything to go to yet.
I don't have content. It's just Facebook group, nothing. It was empty. I was like, why are people coming over? I'm like, what the heck? So
but that's what we did. And it came together, and within about 3 months, I did get a call. I did get a call from a talent scout that was looking at, I guess, content on Facebook, and she saw what we were doing, and she directed what she saw to a production director, her name is Tacey Trump, and we love Tacey. She's amazing. So I get a call. I didn't answer the call because I didn't know who it is. And I'm like everybody else. I screen my calls. And don't tell me y'all don't screen your calls, because y'all do. We know you do.
Yes.
So I screened my call, right? And I thought, that's probably a scam. Just probably a scam. So it kept me curious, though. It kept me curious. So I went back and listened to it, and I said, let me see what this Voice America thing is. So I Google it, right? Man, I'm like, wow, this thing is real. This is like a big deal. We're not talking just a radio show. We're talking international radio show. And we're like, seriously, they want. So I call the lady, Tacey, and we talk. And she's amazing woman, just amazing. Because she knows her business well. She knows how to hook people in, and she's great. And so I said, well, yeah, I'm interested, but I'm only interested if I can have my co-host with me, Ernie, to be on the show. And she said, well, tell me about Ernie. So I tell her about Ernie, and she goes, oh my gosh, yes. She loved the dynamic of our, Ernie is Filipina. I'm like an old boy from Texas, So there's a big difference there in our, in our ethnicity. Ernie's quite a bit younger than I am, and so I'm like, a little bit older than Ernie. And we have that dynamic. Plus, we're male and female. So we are able to cover many broad spectrum of the world, so to speak, and just the dynamics that we have. And so she loved the idea. She loved it. She loved it. So we get on a call with Ernie. Ernie, take it from there.
Wow, I love that. I
Yeah.
love your story. Tell me more about your faith and how do you combine that with what you do? And how do you combine it to help the listeners and people that come on the radio show?
I love that
That's a
question.
beautiful question.
Full transparency, Steve and I are faith-based,
Mm,
but in respect that there's also other religions out there. So we don't focus on the faith, but faith follows us and shows in everything that we do every time.
mm,
So when I say that we're faith-based, but we don't focus on it, the goal is to add value, right, to people and impact. But knowing that God's message is pouring out from us. So we wanted to become a river, not a reservoir. So we wanted all God's words and God's work to flow through us. But it doesn't have to be godly words. It doesn't have to be godly works. Excuse me. As long as we're making an impact to someone, as long as we're helping them move the needle, as long as we're helping them get out of beds on a day-to-day basis and motivating them, that's the work that we have.
mhm.
But also knowing that everything that we say, everything that we do is from him and his guidance. That's how we practice our faith. Partner, anything to add?
Oh, yeah. I mean, the whole radio show was manifested by God himself, and I'll
Yeah.
tell you how.
Mhm.
So we're getting ready to dive into this commitment, right? And Ernie and I are talking about it. And so I'm asking God, and I'm just going to tell you, I'm a man of faith, so I'm going to talk about God for a minute, okay? If that's okay.
Yes.
So I said to myself, God, I prayed, God, you got to show me if this is the right direction. What am I doing the right thing?
Mhm.
Because he knows how I want to add value. And the webinar is a great tool. We still do the webinar every other week. We still do the webinar. But God, I want you to give me direction. So I go to church, right? And our pastor is out for the week. He's on a sabbatical. And so we have a guest pastor that comes in. Now I go to a pretty large church here in the Metroplex area. If I was to say the name, everybody would know the church's name. But he's out. So his best friend, who happens to be John Maxwell's best friend, is there speaking that Sunday. His name is Chris Hodges. Chris brings this message about the Jabez prayer. Now, if you know anything about the Jabez prayer, it talks about Jabez asking God to expand his territories. And God promises that he would expand his territories, that he would give him protection. There would be opposition, there will be adversity, but I will protect you. And I read that, and I just, going to church that morning, before I even got to the church, I was very uneasy. I just didn't know. It was something was stirring deep within me. I got there, I hear this message, and I'm thinking, that's my answer. That's where God has brought me. That's what he wants me to do. This is where he wants me to go. And this radio show will expand your territory. I'm giving it to you. What are you going to do with it?
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. Thank you both for sharing. And I can tell from sharing on the radio show, the impact it still has on my life. Not because I didn't know how to share my story, because you both made me feel worthy of being heard. Because we live in a hustling culture and society where we don't always pause to admire the beauty that's in those around us.
Mhm.
And it takes a lot of faith and strength and openness to say, I see you. And that's what you both did for me. So thank you. And thank you for seeing me by supporting what I'm doing, a podcast. You're here.
Absolutely.
Oh gosh, you're making me cry.
Ernie.
I'm sorry. Ernie, snap out
Oh,
of
bless your
it.
I know. Why are we doing this?
heart.
And
You know,
that's like a
you're-
testimony of what we do and why we do what we do, right? It's
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And
oh
I
my
remember,
gosh.
yeah, when that one of your listeners called when I had to answer,
Yes.
I'm
Mhm.
like, I need you now, God. I don't know what to
Yes.
say, and the words just flow. And that's
Yes,
all
it
I
did.
needed. Yeah, yeah. And Steve, you talked about adversary. What are some of the toughest challenges that you have faced when it comes to what you do?
Well, first, Bernadette, adversity is a part of life that we all encounter at some point, right? And
Mm.
it's not so much adversity itself that determines our growth or success, but it is how we choose to
Mm.
respond to adversity that makes all the difference. And when
Mm.
you're faced with a challenging experience or an initial reaction, it might be frustrating. You might get angry or you might get sad, and it's natural really to feel those kind of emotions. But really what sets successful leaders apart is their ability to turn these negative feelings that they have in adversity to something positive and into positive energy. And so, yeah, we've had some, one of the things that we have to deal with is, radio shows aren't free,
Mm.
right? You have to,
Mhm.
there's when you're dealing with a high power network, you have to, there's financial commitments that you make. So one of the things that we've been working with, and God has been delivering so well, is the fact that we're looking for sponsors for our show. And so God's beginning to show up in various ways, which is amazing. It's a person that you meet here or a person that you meet there. And so we could step back and say, oh, we don't know how to do this. We don't, but it's taking that first initial step, moving that
Mhm.
first initial direction. And God says, okay, you take a step and follow, and take the next step and follow, and I will show you the way, you know? And so it is, and then of course there's personal adversity we have in our life, all kinds of things come to attack us, and being on timelines, and we've had situations where with guests that they a couple of times we've had a guest that got upset because something happened after the show, and take it down, and we're not going to take it down, we're not going to take it down because we don't
Yeah,
control the content.
yeah.
But the guest came along and said, no problem. Okay, I get it. I understand. But it's different things like that. And then, as I said earlier, we have personal adversity that we're dealing with in our lives every single day.
Mhm.
And, but it's really, like I said, it's how you approach it and how you respond to it that makes all the difference in the world, because adversity is going to be there. It's going to be at times when curveballs are thrown at you. And so you have to take that moment and pause, and you have to reflect. And I want your listeners to listen, to really get what I'm saying here. There's really three things that you can do in those times and moments. And that's when you have that curveball thrown at you and you don't know which direction to turn, you don't know what to say, you're feeling this gut wrenching feeling inside you. Take a moment, pause, and reflect. Then seek guidance from those who care about you. And the third thing is take care of yourself. Just take care of yourself.
Mhm.
Embrace those challenges of opportunities for growth. Remember that we are the writers of our own story.
Yeah.
Mm.
Thank you for sharing. Ernie, do you have anything you'd like to add to that?
Yes, and I think I can relate it to the building of the radio show. That fear of anxiety, uncertainty, not
Uncertainty,
knowing
yeah.
how things will come to play, not knowing what the future will bring. I'm sure a lot of people or a lot of listeners can relate to that. And that can be an adversity. Fear is a major factor that cripples a lot of us to take action. And Steve and I, to be honest with you, experienced that. It's another form of adversity. And we always have two choices. It's either we move forward and and learn along the way, or we fold and feel stuck, right? So
Mhm.
with Steve and the radio show, we do not know how to host a radio show, let alone host an international radio show. And Bernadette, I'm sure you can relate. We've had numerous conversations. You're like, I did my podcast. I don't know how to start a podcast. I'm
Right.
doing this. I'm
Right.
learning along the way, right? And this is coming from the people who are in the, so to speak, arena. These are coming from the people who are doing it and are still doing it. And in times when you face adversity, there will be fears
Mhm.
and there will be doubts, but expect them. But know that you
Right.
always have two options. It's either you face it and learn along the way, or you fold and feel stuck. Fear is an acronym, and I love how I don't remember where it came from, but fear can stand as false evidence appearing real.
Yes.
But once you learn that, it can be, you can face everything in life.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
I
I
agree.
love that,
Again,
Ernie. That
fear.
is beautiful.
So just wanted
Partner,
to share
you
that.
teach me every day. You teach me every day.
Same here, partner. Same here. That's why we have a very good partnership.
Yeah, yeah, I love that. Thank you for sharing. Yeah, it applies to me too, what you both shared. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm just following a small voice. It's so
Yeah.
Yes.
quiet at times. I'm lost and found at the same time. It makes sense and it doesn't. I'm happy and I'm sad. I'm like, okay, I will continue to obey, to follow, and to
Yes.
somehow find faith even though faith has found me, but I haven't found faith.
Right.
Mhm.
Yeah, yeah.
And with that,
Right.
Bernadette, don't you have that unexplainable peace
Mm, yes.
that you feel? And I've had that ever since we did the radio show. I don't know how I'm calm. I don't know how I'm collected, to be honest with you. It's just having that peace, because
Mhm.
I feel like it's a message, that it's a confirmation that what I'm doing is correct. And that's what's led us to where we are today. And, Steve and I share a lot of our feelings, our emotions and thoughts. And I think that's part of their journey.
Yeah, yeah, I agree.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's
Thank you
being
for
really
sharing.
authentic and being very real.
Yeah,
Absolutely,
Mhm.
Ernie.
yeah. Yeah. And you guys have had many, many different types of guests on your podcast.
Yes.
Yes.
What are let's pick two to make it easier. Two of the stories and testimonies that rocked your world, that
Oh,
gave
well,
you
Ernie knows. Ernie knows what's for me.
right after you've
Oh,
heard
yeah.
those two stories and testimonies,
Mm.
you humbled yourself and say, this is the meaning of life for me, this is why I'm doing what I'm doing. Can you share with us two stories that just blew your hats off? I'll
Mm.
start
Ugh.
with Ernie.
Oh, girl. Can I tell you one of them is you?
Yeah.
Oh.
So,
Oh,
and I cried.
oh, yeah.
I cried that day. So, on the day of your episode, we also, you know how we have a call with the guest before the radio show, and then we have a call with the guest a week before the radio show just to put content together. On the day of your radio show, we have a guest that we are vetting, and her
Mm.
story, her name is Karen Robinson,
Mm.
and your story just really grounded me, probably underground too. Um,
Yeah.
I don't even know. Like, it just motivated me so much to a point wherein I had to sit down and reflect on what I'm doing. So just a little bit of background. I'm sure all your listeners know your story, how, if you're okay me sharing it, you have been molested at a very young age.
Mhm.
And today, look at you now, you're creating a platform where everyone can share their secrets, where everyone can share their struggles, the things that they face,
Mhm.
and putting it out there.
Mhm.
And then Karen's story, just to give a little summary of it, she's a well-known speaker already, was sent to Cambodia for a volunteer speaking gig, and she met 2 sex trafficking victims.
Mhm.
And long story short, she was given a message by God to bring these sex trafficking victim women to America,
Mhm.
not related to her, bring them to America, have them go through leadership training for 6 weeks, send them back to Cambodia, and then have those, what she calls them now, Raven, to make an impact in their country. Now, these are the women who thinks that they cannot reach whatever dreams they have. The dreams that they have will never happen. And she made it happen for them.
Mhm.
So your story and then her story, both on the same day, just floored me. And I remember I was crying with Steve that day. And I said, you know, when we started this radio show, never did we think that we will meet the people who truly makes an impact, the people who
Wow.
did the work, the people who did face adversity, but at the end of the day, instead of, you know, dwelling on it, instead of feeling like a victim, they rised up to the occasion and made a difference. And now they are getting their voice heard and making an impact to others. It just like motivated me tenfold, and this is why we kept continuing with the radio show. And like, yeah, those are the 2 amazing stories that I have.
Thank you so much. I'm honored. Thank you. Thank you. How
Mhm.
about you, Steve?
Well, Bernadette, I'm going to give you 3. Ernie talked about your show. Your show was definitely one of them that touched my heart and my life in such a way that it made a shift in me to look at things differently in
Mhm.
respect to how I approach the sensitive situations that we encounter every day with people that are in situations that you had. And so that, and Ernie touched on that quite a bit. But Karen Robinson was also another one with me. I mean, we understand. We just listened to you and your story, and we hear that you were on the radio show, and we're listening to your story, and then we go into an interview call with Karen, and she literally rocked my world upside down. You have to understand, this was a double impact. This was a collision that came together.
The same
I'm not
day.
kidding.
I can't contain myself.
Same day. And the parallel, the closeness of your stories, and y'all don't even, I don't think y'all know each other, but the parallel, the
Mhm.
closeness of your stories radically had an effect on me. And I'll be honest, I get kind of emotional sometimes, especially when I'm, really, my heart really is touched, and that show did it. And when she started talking about the girls that she brought back and the lives that were changed in it, Ernie and I, have an opportunity to give her a voice across the world, internationally. It's like it is radically made a huge difference in me that day, and I'll never forget that show. Never forget those interviews. Bernadette, you and Karen made a big impact, but there's one more gentleman that made a huge impact on me, and that is Coach Haywood. Remember Ernie?
Yes.
Oh my
Yes.
gosh. Coach is the number one. Oh, I
The
get
winningest.
emotional thinking about it right now.
Yes. You want me to speak for you?
Yeah, take it, Ernie.
So Coach Haywood is a football coach, and this man taught us, motivated us to chase the lion, and reminded us that what we're doing is basically jumping in that pit and chasing the lion. Because in life, I love the analogy that he used. In life, we will have doubts, we will have fears, we will have limiting beliefs, and it will always come, just like what I said earlier. They always come. Fear does not leave, but having that faith, doing the things that we say we would do, and just really jumping in, God will always deliver. God will give you that wink, the God wink that he mentioned. And he said, see, you can only see what's in front of you. but God knows the outcome, the end result already. So have faith on the only holy that has your life on the palm of his hands,
Mm.
because he always delivers. I hope I gave that analogy justice, but that's half of the impact that he gave us.
Wow.
Yeah, Coach is the greatest all-time winning coach in the state of Kentucky, high school football.
Mhm.
And he has won 8 or 9 championships. And the particular thing that really touched me at the time was when they were in a situation where his team was not a great team.
Yeah.
And they had to come to a decision. They got a chance to be in the state championship, and they had to come to a decision, is it possible we can win this thing?
Mm-hmm.
And Coach brought the analogy of chasing the lion. And the lion is an analogy, or is actually a analogy of chasing our dreams, right?
Mhm.
And the lion is the one that, wants to kill our dreams. He
Mm-hmm.
wants to take it away from us. And so how do we chase a lion? And he took it from a biblical standpoint in 2 Samuel chapter 23. If you read that at all, it talks about Benaiah, who was a warrior, one of King David's mighty men. And he chased a lion on a snowy day in a deep pit, and he slayed the lion. Now, who would do something like that? I mean, really, who would ever just go chase a lion on a cold, snowy day into a pit? But he did, and he used that analogy of you have to be able to slay your lions that are in your dreams to keep your dreams alive. And the way he just presented it, the way he just taught it, the way he just shared it. And if any of your listeners ever go to the Leader's Edge
Mm-hmm.
and listen to Coach Haywood, because it was an amazing story. And it just caused a big, like, you get that lump, right here in your chest,
Yes.
that,
Yeah.
oh my goodness, it just did a change in me. And it touched me. So those are the episodes that affected me the most.
Yeah. And actually, can I quote to what he said exactly word for word, because it's very powerful. He said, step out, have courage, take a risk, and put your faith and trust in the one that holds your future in the palm of his hand. Like,
What
Wow.
else? There's nothing else to say. Coach, if you ever listen to this, I love you, man. Thank you so much for
yes,
everything you give us.
Mm-hmm.
we'll connect you with him,
Yeah,
Bernadette, so you can
We
have him
definitely.
on
will.
the radio show.
Yes. Yes,
Wow.
we'd love to.
Yeah, sounds
Oh.
like you guys had double concussion that day. My
Ooh.
story and then
Carrot. Yes, that's exactly the right word for it. Like, double
That is.
concussion. I was floored. Like, I said, what if these two women can make an impact? What am I doing with my life? What excuses do I
Yeah.
have?
Oh,
You
it's
know?
so true. And the thing is that that particular day when we were talking, after talking to you and talking to Karen, I was extremely emotional, and I had a hard time in the interview. And
Mhm.
and then when we get to the show for Karen several weeks later, I still had a hard time with it.
Which
But
was
what was
last
so
week.
yeah, which is last week, which was last week. What's so great about my partner Ernie is the fact that, and we promised each other this, that when I am at 20, she's got my 80, and the same thing with her.
Mhm.
And we have our 20-80 days.
Mhm.
And Ernie, that day for me was an 80. I was at 20 and she was 80 and gave me my 100%.
Mhm.
So, that was a powerful day for me, a very powerful day, and I'll never forget it.
Yeah, yeah, I
Mhm.
love that. Thank you for sharing. I love the power of emotions. They're not always negative, even though that's how most people perceive them to be. In my opinion, when someone cry, it's a release of healing.
Mhm.
Can't always put your hand into what it is they're releasing. It's a trigger.
Yeah.
It's just something that's released. It's like a door being open.
Mhm.
Yeah, yeah.
It's
It's
Yeah,
beautiful.
yeah. So,
and that
question,
vulnerability comes out.
go ahead.
So that vulnerability is there. You
Yes,
open yourself up.
yes,
Mhm.
I agree. Yeah, yeah. How do you both practice positive mindset on a daily basis with what you do?
How do we both practice positive mindset? And I
Can I
think
be
what we're,
transparent? Yeah.
yeah, go for it,
Yeah.
partner. Go for it.
I'll be transparent. It doesn't happen easily. I don't
Mhm.
always accomplish it. I honestly don't. Some days I want to sit and just pity myself. I'm being very honest.
Mm.
But I think what gets me out of that mindset of just pity and being sorry for myself
Mhm.
is the fact that I know that I have a living God who's got my best interest at heart, and he loves me, and he knows my worth. Bernadette, whether you know my worth, or if Ernie knows my worth, or if any of my guests know my worth, or even people that I'm associated with knows my worth, I know that God does. And that worth that I have from him empowers me to build myself back up and try again tomorrow. That's called courage. And
Yeah.
sometimes it doesn't happen easily. Sometimes I have to force myself. I have to put one foot in front of the other, take one more step. And as I take that step, the next step becomes a little easier and a little easier
Mhm.
and a little easier.
Mhm.
Yeah. Oh, so beautiful, partner.
Yeah. You guys
So
had your
beautiful.
coffee this morning.
Yeah.
I had two by now, just one coffee for us. We've been on a call in my time. We've been on a call since 7 a.m. So, girl,
Yeah.
we're awake.
Yeah. Ernie,
I
what about
love
you?
that.
I'm interested to know about you. How's that fit
Positive
for you?
mindset with me is working with someone that you can be authentic with, and you can be honest and vulnerable with. And
Mhm.
like Steve and I see each other every day. Sorry, let me rephrase that. Steve and I see each other maybe 5 times a week. We speak every day. And that's coming from the radio show, the webinar, or the business itself, and then a lot of personal things. And I love that he mentioned the 80-20, because that's how our relationship, we think that 100% from me should come from me, and 100% should come from him. But in reality, that doesn't happen in real life. Relationship is about having each other's back and communicating it. If somebody is at their 10%, best you know that your partner will be there at the 90%, right? So positive mindset, I think it's a matter of taking, like what Steve said, taking one step at a time, communicating it, because the world will beat you down.
Yeah.
The society itself, the society that we have, and not attacking it, it's become a norm that you have to meet a certain standard in order for you to fit in. And what happens is it creates this feeling of overwhelmed and uneasiness to people that ruins the mindset. And then it scares us to take action. So how do you move past that? It's just getting up every day, showing up for yourself, doing the things that you promised yourself you would do. Because at the end of the day, that's all that matters.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah, I agree.
And sometimes Ernie, I know Ernie's practices, and I know I practice a little mind hack that I learned from Mel Robbins, and that's the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I practice that when I get out of bed. If you haven't heard of that, man, it's fantastic. She does an amazing job teaching that. And but because between 5 and 1, if it's like when you don't want to do something, and you like, I don't want to get out of bed. I just feel tired. I had a hard evening. I just want to stay here and lay here. But I know if you count to 5 and you start backwards, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. The gap between 1 and 5 is where procrastination lies. If you're able to get up between 1 and 5, whether it's at 2 or 3 or wherever it is, and you get past that, you get down to 1, you're out, you're up, you're running, you're moving. And it's that little mind hack that I do sometimes in the mornings or in the afternoons when I know I got to face something. I don't want to face it. To fill that gap is to move through it and past it. And so that helps me keep that positive mindset moving forward as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. Thank you for sharing. Yeah, Ernie, as you were talking about society, um, I I just don't care anymore.
And
Yeah,
that's the most powerful bits when you
yeah.
stop caring about everything else and just focusing on yourself and what you can do. That's all that matters. That's all that matters. Sometimes we're so consumed with what other people will think about us, what other people would think about what we're doing, and how would other people accept us or perceive us.
Mhm.
And then all of a sudden you're just in that little corner in the dark, feeling sorry for yourself because you feel like you don't amount to anything.
Yeah, yeah,
But in all reality, that's just all here and in your head, that the stories that you created in your head that made you go on this downward spiral, that you're not going to amount to anything. You're not good enough. Just questioning yourself and beating yourself up.
yeah,
It's the opposite of what you believe now. Not caring does not mean you're selfish. Not caring does not mean that you don't entirely care. It's just that you know what your priorities are. You know what you can do and how you can make an impact in your own little way.
yeah.
And that's why when we started on the call, I'm like, girl, flaunt that confidence. I love confident women. I love
Yeah.
confident women.
Thank you.
Ernie, you're so right in that, because we tend to really cower down under the critic, under the person who,
Yes.
Mhm.
and it's not, and I just recently
Oh,
gave a speech on this
preach,
whole thing,
preach.
and when you start talking about vulnerability,
Mm,
it's huge part of my life. And so in 1910, Teddy Roosevelt gave a speech at the Sorbonne in Paris, and he did it, and everybody's familiar with this speech. It's a very famous speech. It's called the Man in the Arena speech, right? And we've all
Oh.
heard that. And actually, it's a quote from the Man in the Arena speech that really made a shift in me. And he during that speech he said, "It's not the critic who counts. It's not the man who points out how the strong man stumbles, or where the doer of deeds could have done it better. The
mhm,
credit belongs to the man who is actually in the arena, whose face is marred by dust and sweat and blood, who strives valiantly, who errs, who comes short again and again, who spends himself in a worthy cause, who at its best knows at the end the triumph of high achievement, and who, at worst, if he fails, at least he fails while daring greatly." And
mm,
so that, when I read that thing, that moment, I read that, it taught me a few things. And first, it taught me, in all the years that I tried to lead in a vulnerable way and to understand vulnerability, that quote showed me everything I needed to know. Because it's not about Bernadette, it's not about winning, it's not about losing, it's about showing up, it's about being
Mhm.
seen.
yeah.
It's about chasing that lion that's in the pit, right? It's about being in the arena alone, being afraid and in a dark place when there's nobody else around.
Mhm,
And secondly, it made me realize that this is who I want to be. I want to get out there. I want to build content. I want to add value to people. I want to make things happen that didn't exist before I ever touched them. The same thing you do on your show. You want you want people to hear that. You want people to experience that. I want to show up and I want to be seen in my work, in my
mm,
life. But there's a price to pay for that. And that price is, if we're going to show up and be seen, we're going to get ourselves in big trouble. There's going to be a lot of critics out there. We're going to get our butt kicked pretty darn hard, pretty darn hard. And I know you've experienced it. We've experienced it. And that's really the only certainty that we have. And if you're going to be in that arena and you're going to spend time in that place whatsoever, and you're committed to creating and adding that value to people, the only certainty you have is you're going to get your butt kicked really, really hard.
mhm,
And so we got to decide. We have to decide at that moment if that's what we really, really want to do,
mm,
because it's not easy out there. It's tough. And when you're putting podcasts out to the world, and you're putting radio shows out to the world, you're going to
Yeah.
have those critics. And you're going to have those people
Mhm.
who tell you, why are you doing what you're doing? They're going to criticize you for the least little thing that you say.
Yes, and you should do it this way. You should do it that way. You
Yeah,
should add it
yeah,
that way. When
that's right.
I'm like,
Yeah.
So,
you're
but
you're holding back on me, partner. Keep
I know,
preach
I
for
know,
me,
I know,
please.
I know.
I
But
want
I
to
will
hear
tell you
it.
this. I will tell you this. I'll finish it up this way. Honestly, I look at it this way. I said there was three parts in that. The second part was like, giving me that opportunity to add value to people. But the third thing is probably the thing that gets me in the most trouble of all when I get involved in this kind of thing, is that, and it's probably the most dangerous thing, and that's if you're not in the arena and you're not getting your butt kicked really hard, then I'm really not interested in your feedback. I'll be really honest with you. I'm really not. So if you're in the cheap seats up here and you're not putting yourself on the line,
Yep.
and you're just telling me how I can do it better, then I'm not interested in your feedback at all. Not at all. Not there. And just not there. So, it's about courage. It's about individuals being courageous to strive for greatness and to never let fear prevent us from stepping into that arena of life and to achieve the dreams and chase the lion that we were meant to do. What is our destiny? What is our purpose? Right?
Yeah.
Ah.
Mic drop.
That's what I wanted to hear. Like, don't hold back on me. Come on, preach for me. And
Wow.
I love when you said about society, I don't care. And that's exactly what that meant, right? It's
Mhm.
you can probably say it better than I do. But
Yeah, yeah. And I have a heart for people who take time out of their time to think they can mess with my time to criticize. And those people, whether they believe it or not, they are my fuel. I need them.
Yes.
I need them around. I
Yes.
absolutely need
I
them.
love that.
I'm like,
I need to write that
yes,
down.
tell me everything. And then as those people are expressing, I can see through them. And I pray for people like that, believe it or not, because those are hurting people. Because I believe hurting people hurt people, broken people want to
yes.
see others
Yes.
broken. But when we
Yes.
humble ourselves, we don't let anger win. That's where the true wins are.
Yeah.
That's
Wow.
beautiful.
I wrote
I
that
love
down.
that.
I love that. That is beautiful.
It fuels me.
Can
Yes.
I use that sometime, Bernadette?
Oh, yes, please. Yes, yes, yes.
I love
I
it.
think we
That's
just forgot
beautiful.
that we're on a podcast and we're
You guys, how are we doing for time on your end?
we're
Oh,
good. We got 10
we're
minutes.
good. Yeah, we're
Yep.
good.
10?
Yeah.
I'm kidding. Is there anything
Maybe
else you guys
20
would like to
minutes.
share?
I think we're
14.
okay.
Okay. I'll start with Ernie. Is there anything else you'd like my audience to hear? Just leave us with something, please.
Leave you with something. Like we have not left you anything yet.
You have just seal the package, like wrapping it.
I think what I wanted the listeners, what I wanted you to take away from this episode of Bernadette's is if you have a burning desire to do something, do it. Like what we said earlier, how we started, we jumped in, we announced it to the world and figured it out. The journey will not be pretty. The journey will not be perfect, but the journey will always be worth it. And you are worth seeing that journey through. That's all I got.
Oh, that's
Beautiful.
beautiful.
How about you, Steve?
Well, yeah. Yeah. I have a mentor of mine who's been a spiritual mentor of mine for decades, Dr. Stan Brook. Dr. Brook is a man of God. He's a very spiritual man, but a deep, deep thinker, not only in biblical studies, but a deep thinker in life studies. And he said something to me one time, and I'll never forget it. He said, don't tell someone how beautiful, how handsome, how intelligent, or talented you feel they are. Those are all nice things. just tell them they are loved.
Mm.
Because when it's all said and done, as it someday will be, nothing else matters.
Mm.
And true love depends on no conditions or attributes, but on a simple decision. Simple, though the most blessed and profound of all existence and eternity. This race called human, this race that we're in, this human, was put on earth for no other purpose than to love, be it God or be it man. And to love is the most vulnerable of all. If you fail at love, you fail at life. And that has impacted me for years. Because I truly believe it. We're here to love each other, to take care of each other, to help each other, to add value to each other, to listen to each other, to get in the mud with each other and wash each other off. We're here to deliver our purpose. And it's different for everyone. And listeners, you have a purpose. Go out and find it. Because when you find your purpose through your giftedness, God will take you to heights you never would imagine.
Yeah. Wow. Just wow. Thank you so much for sharing. Thank you. I have 2 questions for you, both of you, as we wrap up. I'll start with Steve. What is the meaning of life for you?
Oh, wow, that's deep. Got a lot of stuff.
We have enough time.
I have enough time. I think I touched on it a lot right there in that last sentence, the last few seconds that I spoke. It's love and learning to love unconditionally. The meaning of life for me is I have my ideas, the things I believe, the things I think, but does that necessarily mean that another person doesn't have different ideas or thoughts? Does that mean that I can't love them or care about them? No, it doesn't. And the question I always ask myself is it true? Is that what they're saying? Is it true? Is that true about myself? And the second question I ask myself is, am I willing to be wrong? And so I think for me, the meaning of life is to love people and to take care of each other and to add value to each other in the best human way that I possibly can.
Beautiful. Thank you. How about you, Ernie?
The meaning of life for me is similar to Steve, but I'm not gonna add love. Not because I have a heart of stone. Actually, full transparency, my word of the year in 2023 is all about love. And love, I tell you, I became soft and I even cried on your podcast today. But at the end of the day, the meaning of life for me is, after learning my purpose and now living my purpose, it's a matter of a purpose. Why do I exist? Why do I get up every morning and do the things that I do? And that is because the meaning of life for me is to add value to others, seeing and having experience all the healing, having experienced all the traumas, the limiting beliefs that I have gone through as a young kid, and realizing that I was not living my purpose of actually adding value and showing people that they can do it too, overcome those traumas and heal from them. I was feeling stuck and empty. And maybe some listeners on this podcast feel the same way today. When you're feeling stuck, when you're feeling empty, when you're feeling like, okay, there's no reason for me to live. And that's because you don't know the meaning of your life yet. You don't know your purpose yet. And your goal is to find that purpose and live it every single day.
Yeah. Thank you. Well, this is the purpose for me.
Yes, very apparent there.
Very apparent. And you do it so well. Bernadette.
Yes.
You do it so well.
This is why I get up for my kids, and this is it. That's
Yeah.
it. Rich conversation and connection, all of it.
Mhm.
Yeah.
This is it.
Yeah, and
And
the feeling of fulfillment that you experience on a day-to-day basis, and having to know that there are people who are making that difference with you.
yeah, I agree. Thank you guys for coming on the podcast. Where can my listeners find the amazing work that you're doing?
Ernie, you know better than I. You say it all the time.
So Steve and I have our radio show together. It's The Leader's Edge through the Voice America Business Channel. We also have our own social media platforms. So we are on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and LinkedIn. And Steve Steele's handle is Growth and Leadership, or Steve Steele. Mine is Confidently You with Ernie, or Ernelita the Kumos. You can find us there. But if you want valuable content and an extension of Bernadette's podcast, we highly recommend listening to our radio shows as well, because like Bernadette, we're here to make an impact. We're here to deliver people who have gone through the journey of healing, of working through their limiting beliefs and fears, and giving you tangible tools on how to overcome them, or to work with them, or to manage them.
And let's not forget your path to personal leadership growth with Steve and Ernie.
Yes, the Facebook group.
The Facebook group. If you're
Oh, you
interested
have
in
a
learning
group.
about leadership,
Yes.
we have a pretty large group. Yeah,
Wow.
a very good following. And if you're interested in personal growth, I mean, really digging in deep, and leadership growth, I mean, really digging in deep, because on a radio show, you're limited because you have time, right? Time restrictions. Well, on a webinar, you're not so limited, right? So we get in with our guests and we get down and dirty. And if you're interested in really, and you get to see us too, because it's, it's Facebook Live. So, it's fun. It's a lot of fun. So if you want to be part of the Facebook group, join us there, and we'll put you as a member, and come on in and let's learn together.
Awesome. Yeah. Well, Ernie and Steve, thank you so much for being on the podcast today. Thank you for filling my cup and so many others. And thank you for sharing your heart, your passion, faith, and purpose with us. Keep up the good work. God's got your back, and so many others too.
Thank you, Bernadette. Thank you, everyone. Have a good day.
Thank you. Y'all have a great
Bye.
evening. Thank you.